Hello everyone! Today we'll be presenting our study titled Metadiscourse in British Newspapers about the overtures and protests in the Canary Islands. My name is Nestor de Armas Guerra, and together with my colleague Laura Padrón Brito, we'll explore how British media portrays these demonstrations. Across Europe, including Spain, we've seen demonstrations against mass tourism. Our research focuses on how these protests in the Canary Islands are framed by British newspapers. In particular, we're interested in the language choices journalists make and what these choices reveal about attitudes towards the protests. Our study has three main objectives. First, to analyze how the Canary Islands are represented in British newspapers. Second, to evaluate whether coverage tends to be positive, negative, or neutral. And third, to uncover the linguistic strategies newspapers use to encode stance and positioning. So, to carry out this study, we built a corpus of 40 news articles from five major outlets with eight texts from each: The Independent, BBC, Express, The Times, and The Guardian. This range allows us to compare across different editorial styles and political leanings. Our methodology combined corpus linguistic tools such as keyword analysis, collocation analysis, and frequency counts with close reading. This mixed methods approach let us examine both quantitative trends and qualitative nuances. When we searched for booster terms, which are words that strengthen or intensify claims, we found 31 hits across the corpus. The Times had nearly half of these, while Express and The Independent showed only a couple each. This suggests differences in how assertive or emphatic each outlet tends to be. However, it is important to note that the booster command in the corpus tool only captures a predefined list of words that you can see here, such as absolutely, entirely, or strongly. So we suspected that it might underestimate the real frequency of boosters in the text. And hence, to get a fuller picture, we examined all adjectives and adverbs ending in ly and determined which one of those were boosters. This analysis revealed a much higher number, 142 boosters in total. Here again, the Times stands out as the most emphatic, while the BBC remains a lot more restrained. We also looked at superlatives like biggest, strongest, or most important. These appeared 70 times in 26 out of the 40 texts. Interestingly, the Times and Express relied more on lexical superlatives such as best or most, while The Guardian and The Independent used the grammatical EST forms. Turning now to hedges, which are words that soften or limit claims, we found that modal verbs like might or could were the most frequent type. The Times and The Guardian used them the most, while the BBC had none in our corpus. Now, adjectives can also be used as hedges, but were rarely done so in this case. In fact, only the adjective possible appeared, and only twice, in The Independent. This shows that hedging through adjectives was not a common strategy in any of the newspapers. For adverbs ending in ly, which can also function as hedges, we found just 14 examples across the whole dataset. The Independent again used the most, while the BBC and the Times used very few. This suggests that hedging is less prominent than boosting in these texts. We also notice some interjections, such as conversational phrases within quotations. These informal touches soften the impact of statements and bring in a more expressive register, as we can see. Well, they did pancakes and salads. Sorry, I don't make the rules. Oh, fine, I don't care about. Close reading revealed additional hedging strategies not captured by automatic tools. For instance, words like perhaps, almost, and about, which were not caught previously, did, when analyzing the close reading, appear to help in create hedging sentences. Interestingly, the structure it is plus adjective plus that, which is common when using hedges orally, did not appear at all in our corpus. So, regarding the discussions, from these results, we see that the Times consistently stands out as the most emphatic, making frequent use of boosters. The BBC and the Independent, by contrast, use them more sparingly. Overall, boosting was much more common than hedging, suggesting that news discourse tends to emphasize rather than downplay. Still, hedges were useful when conveying certainty or limiting commitment. To conclude, of course, we cannot say that any newspaper was clearly more positive or negative in its coverage of the protest. What we did find is that the newspapers differ in how they use linguistic strategies like boosters and hedges. Those outlets that rely more on boosters can create a stronger, more emphatic tone, which may make the coverage feel more engaging or even more dramatic. In contrast, outlets that use more hedges present the information in a more cautious or measured way. So, the key difference is not whether coverage was positive or negative, but how these stylistic choices shape the way readers perceive and interpret the protest. So, thank you for listening, and we'd be happy to answer any questions below. Thank you.